Hello, welcome back. This video is part 2 and we are talking about the 4 different anxious attachment archetypes. So a real quick summary on that. What we started in the first video is that after I worked with a bunch of women, I realized that some of them were experiencing anxious attachment in one way and some were experiencing it in another, and their behaviors or their coping mechanisms or their internal world or their nervous system response was completely different. So I saw that anxious attachment itself is just too limiting and too broad to be able to give you the most customized, step-by-step, this is what you need to do in order to become more confident and secure. Because some people are confident. They're confident with their friends, they're confident at work, and in relationships they feel super anxious and insecure. That's our common collected overthinker. We talked about her in video 1. And some people are feeling anxious across the board, really closed down in their body, maybe in a freeze response. This would be closer to the sensitive soul, which we also talked about in video 1. In this video, video 2, we're going to talk about the affection enthusiast and the distant dreamer. And if you're like, what are these names? I don't know what you're talking about. These are archetypal characters that I basically created based on the different type of anxious attachment. You can simply take the quiz that is linked below in order to figure out which anxious attachment archetype you are. It's 12 multiple choice questions. It's super fast and easy. Then you're going to get a custom write-up and a little video training based on your type. But if you want to hear the details about all the types, then make sure you watch video 1 for the sensitive soul and the common collected overthinker, and stick around in this video as we dive into the other 2. So starting this video with the affection enthusiast. If you watch the other videos, I basically was talking about her as what the other 2 are not, because the affection enthusiast actively seeks attention. She has no problem demanding for more time, asking for what she wants, maybe being like a really loving person who can walk up to people and hug them, can reach for physical touch, which is different than the first 2. So the anxious attachment tendencies for her might show up as needing frequent reassurance and asking for it, maybe being jealous easily, becoming outwardly upset, and maybe a little whiny when your needs for attention aren't being met. So your partner or whoever probably knows when you're like wanting more from them. So you probably notice that you thrive on physical closeness and emotional closeness. You want people close to you. You want to spend a lot of time with them. You want their attention, and that's just where you feel nourished and loved. You might have challenges with feeling or managing feelings of jealousy, dealing with any perceived neglect when people aren't available for you, and balancing your needs for affection with the other person's capacity or need for personal space. Those might be the challenges. So what's important for your nervous system and your growth, if you are the affection enthusiast, is to cultivate self-soothing techniques. Self-soothing is also relevant as something for the sensitive soul. But the reason that it's important here as well is because sometimes we are crossing other people's boundaries with our, I don't want to say necessarily pushiness, but you can kind of feel that if you go into someone's arms for a hug, even if you know that they're going to say yes, sometimes you can feel where you're getting a little annoying to someone. You can sense their energy, but you still want it. And it's like this internal experience of like, I know that they don't want to give me this, but I'm just going to see if I can get it. That might be kind of unconsciously happening. So self-soothing is going to help you feel confident that you can hold yourself so that you don't have to rely on other people to feel loved all the time. Second thing for you is building a sense of self-worth independent of your partner's attention, and developing healthy communication strategies to express your needs without overwhelming your partner. Generally, the main desire for the affection enthusiast that I work with is wanting to feel more in control of her emotions, wanting to feel secure within the relationship, and feeling competent in yourself in general. So if you take the quiz and you end up as the affection enthusiast, then that training video will be filled with information to walk you through some of this stuff. Now, finally, we have the distant dreamer. The distant dreamer is independent and introspective, who often appears very emotionally detached, but her experience might feel conflicting around closeness and intimacy. She's always wondering, how much should I let someone into my life? How fast should I let them into my life? You might get the sense that you don't really trust people super easily. You feel like a private person. You feel like you need to meet a lot of people before you meet someone that you could consider opening up to. So your anxious attachment tendencies might show up as acting kind of indifferent to emotional closeness. Maybe you want to sleep in your own bed. You're like, oh, if it's here, it's nice, but you're not a really snuggly person. Whereas the calm and collected overthinker might. So kind of want to explain this with 3 of them. The affection enthusiast would be like, cuddle me, hug me, kiss me. The calm and collected overthinker wouldn't necessarily ask, but when it's given, she really loves it. The distant dreamer wouldn't ask, and then even if it's given, might feel a little bit indifferent to that experience because you don't want to get too excited or too soft about it, basically. Another anxious attachment tendency for her would be maybe sending mixed signals in dating. She is being a little hot and cold, again, feeling this confliction between a desire for intimacy but a fear of vulnerability or letting someone get too close. Sometimes there's this underlying sense that they're going to take something from you, or they're going to like mess up your life, or you're going to have to give them a lot of your time that you don't want to. If you have this type, you may have wondered if you're more avoidant than anxious, because sometimes this default strategy to protect yourself is to pull away before he does. So the most important thing for your nervous system and growth is to be able to recognize and acknowledge your emotional needs. Sometimes we lean towards this archetype when you had an experience where your emotional needs were just not considered or basically like bulldozed through in your family environment. So you didn't really have a say, you just had to do what you were told, and maybe there was either a lot of kids in the house or you had a lot of responsibility as the child, so you didn't have a choice. And now as an adult, it might feel very important to be in control of your resources and your time and your space, because if someone gets too close, then you fear, like in your family environment, they're going to take something from you, or they're not going to see you, or you're not important to other people, depending on the experience. Obviously, this could be pretty different. So it's important to actually notice the edges of your needs. Do you know what your emotional needs are? What's your relationship like to your sadness, to your excitement, to your anger? If all of that's a little bit numb, or if you feel a little bit walled off from feeling, then it's also going to stop you from feeling connection to other people. But the more clear you are on recognizing your needs and maybe even the desire to be held or to be vulnerable, the more you can actually consciously get them met. And a practice in that would be practicing opening up gradually to someone you trust. This makes perfect sense for your system. I'm not asking you to like let someone in full on and be this open, like, you know, whatever this is person. It probably wouldn't feel safe for you. So gradually opening up and just being discerning to the trust you give is totally fine, but what is your edge on being a little more open, a little more soft, a little more vulnerable? Maybe you can think of someone right now that you could be a little more open with. And in this, you're also finding a balance between independence and intimacy. So if you get distant dreamer as your quiz result, on that same page, you're going to get a little write-up and these strategies in a bit more depth. So between the first video and this video, we have now gone through the 4 different types. Quick summary, we have the sensitive soul. She's more likely to be kind of shy outwardly and internally might experience self-blame about relationships, or is overgiving from a place of wanting to be sweet and loving and give, but isn't being taken care of the way she takes care of other people. Then we have the calm and collected overthinker, who is the woman who seems outwardly confident. She looks like she has it all together, inside feeling really anxious, especially in romantic relationships, might resonate with being more in her masculine and wanting to be more in her feminine. Then we have the affection enthusiast, and the affection enthusiast is like what you might call a needy girl. It's okay. We love you, affection enthusiast. You are very happy generally and like want energy and attention and want to be around people, want to be close to people, and want to just like connect. And it can be a little much for other people. So she's working on balancing being able to be okay with herself with being that loving, beautiful, like connection seeking woman. And then we have the distant dreamer, and the distant dreamer is more independent, more logical, sussing out whether people can be trusted or not, and finding that place in the world where she can really soften and potentially soften into someone else and be held by someone else, finding that balance. Now, as I say this, I don't want any of them to feel doom and gloom. I just want you to see it as no matter what category you are in, this is something that you learned to keep you safe. Whether it was something that you experienced in early romantic relationships or in your family dynamic growing up, you learned these coping mechanisms as your best attempt with what you knew at the time to get you the love that you wanted and to keep you safe. And again, if you're here watching this, then you've probably realized that you would like to do things another way. At this point, those coping mechanisms just aren't cutting it anymore. They are not cultivating the secure, healthy, mature, confident relationship that you want. They're not leaving you feeling authentically connected to your confidence and your peace. And that is perfect and beautiful. The fact that you have came to that awareness is exceptional and amazing. And you are walking amongst so many people who are blind to this playing out, that are just blindly going through the loops of pain that maybe you've experienced before. And sometimes it's like quite astonishing to watch people when they're like so deep in their pattern without having self-awareness. But you are here, you are a self-aware person, you're gaining the understanding so that you can change your experience. And I'm so proud of you for doing that. So your next steps are to just stay on the path, get yourself the tools, which I have so much for you inside Becoming Secure, to bring it into your subconscious and all the layers of your body, and keep giving yourself grace and self-compassion along the way. That's such a necessary part of this journey. On a subconscious level, it would just never work to shame ourselves into change. So we need to meet ourselves with love and remember that you've been doing your best until this far. You've been making decisions based on what your nervous system could handle, and now you are getting more information and hopefully more tools to work through these experiences as they happen and to be able to refine. It's kind of like we can't just turn a coal into a diamond with, I don't know, maybe this isn't the best metaphor. Maybe they're doing that with man-made diamonds, but it takes time to, let's say, carve a statue. You have to cut away the layers and refine and refine and refine. And that's what this process is more like. It's more like a constant shaping and feeling what feels good, what works. Oh, that elbow's a little too sharp. Maybe that's where I need to soften. You know what I mean. And that's more what this process is like. So I'm going to wrap it up here before I keep making up weird metaphors. As I said before, the quiz to figure out which anxious attachment type are you is in the description, and it's totally free to take. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure that you subscribe to be notified when new videos come out. And the next video after this one is called Attracting Situationships versus Attracting the Love of Your Life. Two different types of men, and we're going to talk about what it takes to attract secure and committal men. See you there.